They were trampled by horses. We were attacked by people who were riding horses, and these were, I'm certain, Ku Klux Klanmen without their hoods. And they were doing things like that, and so the idea was that now we're going to get 39 men of God. There were 2 women, by the way, in the group. We're going to get 39 people of God, and let the Southern, what are the Southerners going to do now? Are they going to turn the dogs on them? Are they going to shoot them? How is that going to look to the rest of the world? Well, Martin Luther King was exactly right. They were scared in their boots. They were more scared than I was, because they knew the white power structure, not the police, not the sheriff's people. They weren't scared of anything. You know, they would take you on. But the white power structure didn't want this to be publicized. So they said, they gave orders to the police, and the police let us know this right away, that there was to be no violence against us. We didn't, whatever we would do, they would arrest us, they would take us away and all that, but we weren't to get beaten up as they had done typically, because that was going to look very bad to the rest of the world. And so we were in Selma. We had a group that they had put together. There were 39 of us. They took us by bus, and where did we go? They had tried marching in City Hall, had been broken up. They had tried marching in the business district, it had been broken up. So they thought, well, maybe we'll try going to the mayor's house. We couldn't get anything. You know, it was like Martin Luther with his doctrine. He had a statement for the Catholic Church, and they wouldn't meet with him. He had put it up on the door. We had a statement for Mayor Smitherman, but we couldn't get to meet with him. Martin Luther King never was able to meet with Mayor Smitherman. They just avoided us. Go out to their house. So we were taken out into this nice residential district of Selma, where most blacks never went unless they were working there, of course. And then we started marching, and almost immediately when we got out there, we had signs and everything, and we were singing a few songs. The police surrounded us, and they had a bus, big bus. They arrested us and took us to jail. And we went to the Dallas County Jail, and were booked, fingerprinted, booked and everything, and put in jail. And then we were told that, and we were very nervous about this, because we were being faced by people with rifles, with guns, with pistols, who were threatening us. You know, they would threaten us. There was one man, a rabbi, sitting next to me, and on the bus going in, and the guards were standing on the aisle of the bus and everything, and this man looked up at them. He looked up at the guard there, and he said to him simply, "You don't really want to do this, do you?" And this burly guy with the rifle looked down at the rabbi and said, "If you say one more word, I'm going to smash in your face, and I don't care if I fry in hell, but I'm going to do it if you say one more word." And so I nudged the guy, and he didn't say anything anymore after that. But so we were arrested, and we were booked, but there were cameramen there, just as there are cameramen here. And they took pictures of everything. And we knew at least whatever happened, it would be recorded. People would know about it. And I found out later, of course, people found out almost instantaneously in San Francisco, in Daly City, in New York. Everybody knew about it. And the New York Times even picked up the story. So it was very good. We were not anonymous anymore. And that was, I think, that's the thing that can save you when you get involved in something like this. If everybody knows, you know, somebody's going to beat you up and you get them to do it, say, step out in front of the house on the sidewalk, they're likely not going to do it out there. So everybody got the bad news, you know, what was going on. But the white power structure just continued to avoid us. That was their strategy. And we never did get in touch with Luther Lobash. And we kind of laugh about that. Here's a rabbi, you know, a man, and he's hiding from us. He doesn't want to talk to us. Well, he couldn't afford to. He was a rabbi in that town, and it was like as I say, it was similar to being in Nazi Germany in that sense, at least. The next day, now they had us sleep on a cement floor. They didn't want to give us any beds. They didn't want no amenities. No, they didn't want us in town. They wanted us to leave as quickly as possible. And when I had been getting at the airport, you know, before I left San Francisco, the 5 rabbis had coats. They had overcoats, top coats. And I had gone down there, hadn't really thought of anything. I mean, it was, you know, it was in March. I really hadn't thought of bad weather or anything. I didn't have a top coat. And one of the men who had driven some of the rabbis to the airport had a top coat. And that man, I don't know his name to this day, he took it off and gave it to me. He said, take this. So that was very important to me, because when you're sleeping on cold cement, damp cement, you don't have something between you and the floor there. And I was able to use that. Then later on, sometimes it would rain in Selma, and I had that top coat. It was very important to me. It kept me from getting seriously ill, so I'm very happy for that. If I ever meet the man, I'm going to thank him. But anyway, at the end of the day, they had orders, obviously, from the mayor's office and from the power authority to get rid of us, to get us out of jail. They didn't want to keep us. They didn't want to have to feed us or worry about us. And there was kind of a fuss being made outside by the newspaper and television people. So they decided to release us, and they said, now if you pay, pay $200 or whatever, we'll release you. Well, we said, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to pay anything to get this. Whole thing is illegal. What you have done is illegal. Maybe legal in Selma, but it's not illegal in most parts. So finally, they had their conferences and everything, said, we want to get rid of them real badly. We'll leave them out on their own recognizance, self-recognizance, a bail bond of $200 on your own recognizance. So, when you get the money, you come back and pay us. But we're going to let you out, just sign this thing. Well, we did that. That we did. So we all got out of jail, 39, and then we marched back to the black section of town where we would be safe. That was the safe section for us. See, the white section was dangerous. We marched back to the black section of town, singing "We Shall Overcome" and other songs that we had learned during the training. And the blacks came out of the houses and they surrounded us. We were heroes. We were heroes for them as we got back in. They were thanking us and all that. They took us in back of the prison, in back of the county jail, and they had us standing in rows, and there was a picture, I came across a picture that somebody took of it. It was kind of really amazing. I didn't know that it existed. They showed us standing. They had us standing in rows of 4, and with a wall to our back, and we were being faced right along the whole column by this armed posse. And as a matter of fact, what the police called them, they called them posse men. They called them the group of posse men. They had their horses, they had their cowboy hats, they had their rifles and their pistols, and they were posse men. They were Ku Klux Klan men. At nighttime or whenever they would start riding, if they had to do something surreptitiously. But they faced us, and they kept us standing there for 3 or 4 hours with nothing to drink. And some of the people, like Rabbi Gumpine, there was an older gentleman. There were older people there. And it was really tough, but they kept making threats that if you stepped out of line, you would be taken somewhere and something could happen to you. But we finally got through that, and then they took us in, and they had this time a bigger cellar for us, put us in this cement cellar. And I guess Martin Luther King was in there. I didn't see him at the time. There were so many people and so much tumult, and people laying down on the cement floor. Unfortunately, at this time I had my top coat with me. And then they kept us overnight, and on one of these junctures I received a telegram, and I think you probably see a copy of it from my B'nai B'rith chapter in San Francisco, saying that they were all behind me and how they knew that was going. I was really kind of surprised. They actually delivered a telegram there. I guess Western Union would go through. But the next morning again, they released us again on bail bond. They had us all sign a piece of paper, a bail bond. They wanted to get us out of town. They didn't want us there. They didn't have any enough toilet facilities and all that kind of stuff. There was no food, and pressure was kind of mounting on the leaders in Selma, Alabama. So we signed that thing. We went back to the black community, and that night we'd go to the Baptist church. They had continual meetings at the Baptist church in the black community in Selma there, where Martin Luther King would speak to the group They had other leaders who would be speaking, and they would talk about the plans. And then on Sunday, they had the plan to march from Selma to Montgomery. And so they discussed it and went over all of the ideas again about nonviolence, that no matter what happened,